Value of Wrestling, the revolutionary force in wrestling podcasting.
It's your boy Miguel Z with the Value of Wrestling New Japan Rebound Podcast. I've got a guest for you folks at Stockton Con.
What up, everybody? AJ Kirsch here, the voice and the host of Stockton Con. The Value of Wrestling is awesome, so subscribe on YouTube. Scan the QR code right here, now. Subscribe, check it out.
There we go.
You'll be glad you did.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, that part. Hey, man, shout out to Value of Wrestling. I'm right here with the Big O's, San Jose. We done shut the shit down. Love and respect, all right? Value of Wrestling. Hello.
Man, thank you, brother.
Oh, you didn't know? You better call somebody. Dial up that phone and let everybody know. Get it out there, shout it out, share this out. Let everybody know that the Value of Wrestling is live right here on YouTube with your weekly roundup for March 10th, 2024. We're going to wrap up the whole week of professional wrestling. In this show, we're going to talk about it all. Lots of stuff coming out. We're going to talk about Brock Lesnar. We're going to talk about Mercedes Moné. We're going to talk about Tony Khan and, well, good booking, bad booking. We're going to discuss so much more. We have Mr. Miguel Z here. He's going to break down New Japan Pro Wrestling for you. He's going to give you a little flavor, a little taste, a little sample. You know, when you go up and get your taste of ice cream, well, Mr. Z is going to give you a little taste of what's going to happen on Tuesday. And, of course, let's always have Mr. Clarke here. But let's do the introductions the right way. Let me introduce you first to the one, the only... Oh, you know. And it goes to the best of the New Japan Pro Wrestling, the one, the only... Oh, believe that, ladies and gentlemen. And I am the Big Tyme, and I'm here, and I'm ready to unload and unwind, and we're going to get it all to you quick, fast, in a hurry. But real quick, let's see. Mr. Z, how are you doing today?
I'm here. I'm good. I'm alive. You got me?
I need a little more volume is what it is. Either closer to your mic or turn your mic volume up a tad.
All right. We got me? You got me?
There we go.
There.
I can hear you nice and good.
Here.
Lean in nice and close. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, don't take it the wrong way.
We're not going to do the Steven Tyler?
Couch over here.
You got a couch? You want to lay down? You want to have a therapy session? Is that what you're talking about? What? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, it's the weekly roundup. We are here to discuss all the things of professional wrestling. Of course, the big breaking news over the last 48 hours is Brock Lesnar is back on the roster. If you go to WWE.com, he is back. His profile is back. It looks like he's back on the active roster from all the reports I'm hearing. Brock Lesnar back after being removed after the Vince McMahon allegations and his association with that. He was removed from the Royal Rumble, and lots of plans that they had for him going into the Royal Rumble, possibly getting mixed up with Dominic Mysterio, going into Elimination Chamber in Perth, but he was removed and disappeared, and we didn't know what's going to happen. And now it looks like he's back on the main roster, or he's back on the active roster. His name's back on the WWE.com roster page. Brock Lesnar back. Is this a big move before WrestleMania? Do they feel they need Brock Lesnar, or have they figured out something with the situation that they feel they can move on? I don't know. But this is definitely a wait and see. Brock Lesnar back on the active roster. Mr. Clarke, how do you feel about Brock Lesnar being back on the main roster now, or on the active roster?
Well, the fact that he's on the roster page and the idea of him being back on the active roster, to me, suggests they've done their own investigation and they haven't come up with enough to really say he's done anything. So it's worth it to them to put him back in the mix. I mean, he's still a draw. So why not use, if you're trying to make the biggest WrestleMania possible, you use every tool at your disposal.
Yeah, no, you definitely want to. I mean, if you're gonna bring Brock Lesnar back on the active roster, then definitely I think you can use him, and I'd be happy to see him go in the ring and have a match at WrestleMania against Dominic Mysterio. It gives Dom something to do. It'd be an entertaining match of how they would play this out in the ring, other than just letting Brock Lesnar just dominate, or just running Brock Lesnar dominating Dom. It'd be interesting how they work that match, what the story would be, would they tell? Would they let Dom beat Brock Lesnar in some means, maybe not by cheating means, but just by a hook roll-up or some nefarious, like, I'm not saying Judgment Day would probably come down and help him, but I'm like, maybe you could let Dom beat Brock in some roll up and continue this feud, some shocker. Mr. Z, your thoughts?
Well, obviously they did their due diligence to get to this point. Unlike other places, they actually made sure every rock was turned over, every story was looked into. They wouldn't just bring him back just because. I've got no issues with him. Like Mr. Clarke said, he is a draw. So if you're gonna do this, you might as well, have all guns blazing going into this WrestleMania.
Yes, no, I think that is a big key. That, I mean, if you have the availability and we think that he's going to be a positive to the picture, then yeah, let's put him on the card. Let's get him in there. Let's get him tangled up with somebody good. I don't know if you rush him into a Gunther match right now. I know a lot of people want to see that at or at WrestleMania, but I don't know if you can really rush him into that now where other things are kind of set in place. Yes, it'd be a great match, but maybe that's something you push off till SummerSlam. Maybe that's something you push off to the Bash of Berlin, because that would be a great place to have Lesnar versus Gunther in that environment, depending on how you're going to write that story. So, moving forward, in other news, Mercedes Moné recently taken an interview. As we know, she is reportedly supposed to debut on AEW TV this Wednesday at Dynamite. She is supposed to be making big business and being part of the AEW active roster. She's supposed to arrive. I don't know who she's going to feud against first. We'll have to wait and see. I wonder if Britt Baker's clear. We'll have to see. Saraya really doesn't feel like somebody I'd want to see a Mercedes Moné against right now. She's running around in the back acting like an upset Karen with what I've heard is the Make-A-Wish or the Wish version or the Temu version of Karrion Kross and her brother. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But Mercedes Moné comes out and does an interview and tells the world that she's going to go back home. And I have more details on that on my own Big Tyme rant, so you can always check that out. But we're going to talk about it here. Mercedes Moné comes out and says she is going home at some point. She's going to go back to the WWE. That is her ultimate goal. But for now, she's having fun. And with the multi-million dollars that Tony Khan's throwing at her, I'm not surprised. But how does this affect Tony Khan? How does this affect the AEW roster coming in with somebody who's pretty much saying, I'm here, but I'm not here to stay? Now, of course, that could change her opinion. She could come in and love this company. Yeah. She could come in and love this company. I mean, some of us, it's a little hard to say that you can love this company, but hey, to each their own. But she could come in and love this company and maybe stay. But I mean, it's really interesting that she's coming out and reporting that she wants to go back to WWE. It does make sense, but when you're signing with this new company, it sets a place a little interesting, and the roster doesn't seem to be happy in AEW with statements given out by Mercedes Moné, which I don't think you can fault them on that. Mr. Z, what are your thoughts on Mercedes Moné at this point? What do you feel big business coming up and her sentiments about going back to WWE?
Well, you already know my point of view from a New Japan standpoint of wrestlers moving their way to AEW at this point. But if it's the money, it's the money. I mean, you can't knock. I mean, money is king to those. So, I mean, if he's throwing big bills at people to come and stay for a cup of coffee and then maybe go and plant themselves in the catering area for the rest of their contract, I mean, that's fine. But I've got no issues if she's only there for a little bit and then comes back to WWE. I mean, obviously they could use her. They could always use her over there.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's just interesting to see. Mr. Clarke, what are your thoughts?
Man, like what we were saying off air, and I was talking about how Trinity went to TNA, for a year and then went back to WWE. I can definitely see Mercedes doing the same thing. But there's always, like you said also, there's that possibility she might actually wind up liking AEW, the schedule, the money, whatever it winds up being. Maybe she stays a little bit longer than we're anticipating presently.
Yeah.
That's one of those, time will tell.
She didn't say she was rushing back, but she did say she'd go back to WWE. But I mean,
right.
I would figure she would want to go back sooner than later. I mean, she probably wants to be there with Trinity again. I'm sure she wants to be in there tying it up with Bayley or working with Bayley and several of the other people that she's been there with. She's having fun, enjoying what she's doing. She knew that she had to leave, and it was one of her proudest moments that she left. She loves everything she did in WWE, but she had to do it, and she felt she needed to do it. Now she's trying out these other things to prove to herself that she can do it. I guess this will probably be the last stop on this Mercedes Moné World Tour before she comes back home. But it'll be interesting, AEW, and I wonder how long this deal is, and how they'll push her going forward, and what that sets for an example for everybody else on the roster.
Here's the follow-up question also. When she goes back to WWE, does she come back as Sasha or does she come back as Mercedes?
And that would be an interesting question, because we've seen people change. We saw the former Ty Dillinger reappear in WWE, coming out as Shawn Spears now, and dropping the old Ty Dillinger moniker, which is perfectly fine. And I'm glad to see Shawn Spears in WWE in that way. And so we are seeing some of those people coming over using their names. So we might see a Mercedes Moné. But again, the boss, Sasha Banks, I mean, it's kind of an inbred, and Mercedes Moné isn't really Mercedes Veronato's real name. So, I mean, it's a play. I'm sure, they'll let her have some play with it, but we'll see how it works going forward. From there, Mr. Z.
Quick, I was gonna say, real quick, there was talks at one point of her and Julia mixing it up one more time, if that was the case, for the New Japan Strong Women's belt. But that don't seem like it's gonna happen, because Julia dropped the strap 2 nights ago. So if there was gonna be a rematch, it would have been for the strap. But it looks like they're gonna have to move past that at some point.
Well, and it looks heavily that it's being reported that Julia's probably going to wind up in WWE. There was reports that she was going, and it seemed like she was upset that news broke. But we're getting the reports back around that definitely looks like Triple H is working very hardly to get that signed and get her on the WWE roster. So if she wants to tie it up with Julia, she's definitely got to come
her
back home.
Yes.
News today from All Japan Pro Wrestling: Yutaka Yoshi has passed away at the age of 50. I guess that's a name you're familiar with.
Yeah, I'd come across it a few times, but yeah, I've heard about it earlier today as well, and it's just, my condolences to the fans out there for that one. That's a rough one.
Kevin Kelly no longer a part of AEW, I guess, after his rant. They removed him, and Kevin Kelly gone. I don't know if that's big news, little news. He seemed to be regulated on the C- show of Collision, which that's become. And speaking of Collision, this week's Collision saw the debut of the newest All Elite member, Kazuchika Okada, as an official member of the Elite. Yes, he's been on AEW programming before, but this is the first time he was on AEW as a member of the All Elite roster. And he debuted on Collision with the Young Bucks and the New Elite on a show that got less than 300,000 views and with about 2,000 people in attendance, and it's really bad. They did a 2-minute squash match pretty much against some jobbers, and after the match, they had Eddie Kingston and Penta run down just to get beaten down by Okada, and then they had the return of the bastard Pac, and Pac was able to chase Okada and the Young Bucks away. And you just kind of go, wow, what are they going to do with Okada and Pac? I don't know if Okada and Pac have a history. I guess that's where I have to rely on you to fill us in on that story. But it was just kind of interesting that they are pushing this. And then we're getting a Dynamite match, the New Elite taking on Eddie Kingston, the bastard Pac, and Penta on Big Business on Wednesday. Creating a storyline on Saturday to do a match on a Wednesday. Tony Khan booking. It's just rush. It's like, can we not get these things to breathe out? Can we not get some more reason behind this? And after the debut of Will Ospreay on Revolution, and then his big match against Kyle Fletcher, which some of us were like, okay, Kyle Fletcher, but they gave us a banger of a match on Dynamite. And then they debut Okada, kind of like a secondhand thrift store idea. I don't know what to say. Mr. Z, these are your guys. I New Japan. Okada coming over. We saw the big deal with Ospreay, but Okada not feeling that same love, I feel. Your thoughts?
Well, we didn't see a big deal of Ospreay. We seen him as an Oompa Loompa, but there was reasons behind that. First off, I already can't. You already know my take on the Bucks. I already can't stand them. I can't stand them. Can't stomach them. I don't want to deal with it. And because they don't have their friend Kenny, because obviously Kenny's out for reasons that we've already discussed. Is history between the Bucks and Okada, but it's more of on their being the elite. It wasn't really in the ring. It wasn't good, bad, and indifferent history. But they're making Okada out to be a joke. They really are.
Well,
I don't like it.
And Tony Khan went on Twitter and announced the Okada Vader was here, or the former Cody Vader. And then on Collision, the Young Bucks came out in the same gear and garb they were at Revolution. Their little bathrobes and their little PJs, and they came up on the Cody Vader. But then they came out by themselves, and then the Rainmaker, they dropped the coin, the music played, they blew the money in the air, and he came walking out from the middle. He didn't come out of one of the tunnels, but he came out of the middle, but he didn't even come out in the Vader. So, I mean, I'm very confused where they... Yeah. Mr. Clarke, what is your opinion? You sometimes seem to find the positive light or positive spin in this, but...
Please, I'm begging. Get some positivity in here.
So the Tampon Bucks went from that now to they are the Okada wannabe posse. I don't know what the hell that is. That's apparently the whole reason why Okada decided on AEW is because he wanted to work with his friends, aka the Young Bucks. Okay, fine. Tony Khan paid him enough money. On the real side for Okada, that's great for him. From a booking side, I'm like, what are you doing? I don't even know how to defend this. Although, the only thing I will say is that at least the way they've been presenting him so far is a lot better than I thought they were going to. Because when he was a part of the New Japan roster, but coming over for AEW programming, they were having him in sweatshirts and looking like a fool, looking like the everyday man when he's not supposed to be the everyday guy. He's supposed to be opulent. He's supposed to be, this aura, this huge aura.
Yeah.
At least when they debuted him, he was in a suit. That's the only thing I can think of that's good about that.
Yeah, but they debuted him on Dynamite in a suit, and then on Saturday night on Collision, which we actually taped earlier. I think it was taped on Thursday. They brought him out in his white jacket, and he just kind of looked plain. And I mean, yes, he dominated most of the match with these jokers, but then he gets chased away by Pac, and you're just kind of like, Pac, I think the Master Pac's a great character, but I'm just like, he hasn't done anything of relevancy in a long while.
I think you have to kind of look into Tony Khan's mind a little bit based on the results of how he has booked Pac. He has always tried to make Pac to be bigger than what maybe the audience see him as.
Well,
it has too. We have to put into consideration a lot of these wrestlers have had visa issues coming to the States, so we have to give them that. That's the only reason why I'm not complaining about Pac stepping in at this point, because when he's there, he puts on bangers of matches.
I know, but when you're debuting Okada in his first match and then you're returning Pac and having Pac pretty much take down Okada, I feel like it takes that shimmer away from what should be a stellar debut. Should be this big moment for his official debut, and then Pac coming in, you're seeing his return. Pac's return should be big. Now, these two might have a banger of a match, and we'll have to see. Of course, they're going to be tied up in a six-way dance on Dynamite at Big Business. But here's another thing. The main reason it seems that Okada wasn't necessarily about money, it was more about scheduling and the ability for Okada to continue to live in Japan and be able to travel back and forth. And again, this plays into what you just said. AEW allows this, but I mean, every time, everybody that's traveling back and forth has had visa issues. So how long before we see Okada with visa issues? I mean, where's Ibushi? Where's Ray Phoenix? I mean, did he get barred from entering the United States? I mean, how many times? We know Pac's had visa issues. Everybody seems to have had visa issues. Kyle Fletcher, didn't he have recent visa issues? Or I forgot who else. I mean, It seems to always be
Well, I
a
mean,
thing in
if you want to go that
AEW.
route, Rhea Ripley, yeah, Buddy Matthews. I mean, there's other
Oh, Buddy
guys
Matthews.
too that have had these issues. You know, even if WWE has put up, even Gunther had a couple issues. He was booked on matches, but they couldn't get him over yet.
Gunther's issue was self-explanatory. We haven't understood it. Gunther was because he moved to the United States, and so as a new citizen of the United States, you can't leave for like 6 months, and regulations and all that was the only reason they wouldn't let him travel to Australia, was because he just officially became a citizen of the United States or whatever. And there's something in the laws of you can't travel outside the United States for so many days, and so I think it was more of a work visa too that played in that, because became a United States citizen, and then with the work visa you have to be in the United States for 6 months, can't travel until a lot of other things in there. These other travel visas, I don't know. It just always seems like, WWE seems to get it taken care of. AEW always seems like they have to change up games because of visa issues.
Well, I mean, you seen what I sent you guys in the chat. I mean, there are people talking about some of these guys go to the show just to find out, hey, we're just here to eat and catering.
Well, there's a ton of AEW stars getting paid money. I mean, the AEW roster's stacked. I mean, look at the guys, the people we could go. Let's see, Moxley, Jericho, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, Okada, Ospreay, Mercedes Moné, all these people making over millions and millions of dollars. And there's some of these fools who are just sitting back in catering that are just making money and not doing anything. Let alone the big controversy right now is the people that are sitting back in catering that might get pitched a story and they're like, no, I'm not doing that. And Tony Khan goes, okay. I mean, that's coming back around. Well, we've heard stammers about that, but that's making big news now.
You're throwing all this money out there to all these wrestlers, and some of them are just, you know what, don't work for me, brother.
You can't imagine this happening in the Indies.
Go home. I've listened to a couple of podcasts and they've said the same thing. If you showed up to an indie show and the way you were booked, you just grabbed your bag and be like, you know, I'm out of here.
Mr. Clarke, anything you want to add to this?
I don't understand the allocation of Tony Khan's resources. Like, if you're going to pay these people, you should be using them. And you have so many brilliant minds in your company to help you figure out how to use them. There's no reason to be burnt out. There's no reason.
Hey, Tony, there's 3 guys here that would love to take a paycheck just to sit here and do this all day, baby. You want to sign some guys that'll sit at home? We're right here.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just crazy that we see this, and Tony Khan's just out here got money for days, but it doesn't seem like he's bringing in money, and it's just like, how long before this shift or this balance, causes issues, and how much longer can AEW manage to pay out these big contracts if they're not bringing in the income? Really pay for them. Now, granted, we know the cons are worth.
Definitely not shown in the live events.
We know the cons are worth billions and billions of dollars, but something seems to be missing.
Well, it's because they make millions upon millions on that football. That's what they make.
Yeah.
That's where the most of that revenue comes from.
Yep.
Mr. Z, what you got coming up this week for New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Hey, we are going into the second round of the New Japan Cup, folks. I broke down the card last week. A couple of upsets already out of the gate. I mean, you've heard it here first. Jack Perry moved on into the second round, obviously joining House of Torture. I would like to thank those who have mentioned it, that they heard it here first. We deeply appreciate that plug. Last night we had Jeff Cobb taking a loss to Yota Tsuji. Ren Narita and Zack Sabre Jr. are going to be putting on a stellar match because Ren Narita defeated Tai Chi to move on. That didn't seem to come in. Folks, David Finlay, Tonga Loa, second round. That is going to be a banger of a match. So right now we are in full on gear for the New Japan Cup. We're just gonna keep trucking forward to seeing who wins this thing. So obviously, guys that I thought was gonna win it, they ain't won it. So we'll have to see what goes on there.
Just wondering if we'll get a cuss fest from Tongaloa.
Whew.
When that dude goes off, it's some of the most entertaining stuff possible.
Well, another question is, where is Tonga going to wind up nowadays? That he's wrapped up his time within New Japan Pro Wrestling, his name being floated around heavily. He reported that he'll be into WWE, and could he make his debut at WrestleMania? Could we see the swerve of the century? Could Cody and Seth Rollins win night one, making it absolutely certain that no member of the bloodline will interfere in this match? Could Tama Tonga be that outside force, because he's not a official member of the bloodline? Could he be the one that shows up and costs Cody his championship?
It wouldn't be the first time, because remember, we've seen the debut on the main roster of Solo Sikoa, because remember, Bloodline was banned at ringside and he showed up and helped Roman retain the title.
Of course, with Friday, and me and Mr. Clarke covered it on our SmackDown review, but we'll touch base on it. We get Mr. Z's opinion also on here, but we know that we got the setup, we got the Rock like we should have been getting. I'm glad to see the Rock where it is. I feel Cody was the flatter one in this. The slap just didn't feel right, but it felt like we got everybody else kind of where we needed to. But Seth Rollins accepting the match on behalf of everything. Are we setting up the Seth Rollins turning on Cody Rhodes? Is Seth Rollins harboring that fact that Cody, he's never been able to beat Cody? Is he mad that Cody didn't pick him so he could get that last match with the title on the line to prove that he can beat Cody? Are we going to get set up? Is Seth going to cost Cody this tag match to put him in a bloodline match? And it just seems like we recently got Seth Rollins with less than a year as a heel, now a babyface. I'm like, do we really need to revert back to a heel Seth Rollins here going forward? What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
I don't know if we need it, but I mean, by the same token, I wouldn't necessarily mind it either.
Well, first, I mean, let's.
Yeah, you didn't get a chance to speak on Friday, so tell us what you think about all of this and kind of give us your opinion.
Well, first off, my running joke was, what did the 5 fingers say to the face? We all heard that joke. But first off, I applaud WWE and the way they did everything within time reason. Did it right before you went off air, which was beautiful. That's how timing's done. But
you mean you're supposed to time a show so it all fits in the time available? I mean, you're not supposed to run it over for 3 hours?
No,
unless it's a pay-per-view and then you run it over and you get it cut off. You get the most important moment in time cut off because you overran your pay-per-view.
First off, if you go online, I shared it. There's a video of the timekeeper telling them, all right, speed it up. And they did. But Cody really did not feel like he didn't feel like he did weeks prior. The Rock did come off as the YouTube videos he's been posting. We finally got Hollywood Rock. And I love it. Now I'm more amped up for this.
Hollywood Rock, we're getting political Rock.
Turning on.
True. Well, he finally announced that he was a member of the board of directors, that he was somebody's boss. He finally used that we've been waiting for.
I was fine with that. If, like you said, are we going to have Seth turn on Cody? It makes sense, but it doesn't. Seth is on the way out right now to go deal with an injury. So there's no point.
That's what we believe.
He's not.
We don't know that for sure.
No, Seth just recently announced he's almost fully recovered and ready. He's recovered from whatever injury he had, so that's why they're allowing him to wrestle these 2 nights. He's free. He announced that on the show the other last week, the week before that he's about.
I didn't catch it.
He's ready to back for in-ring action. So I'm assuming
Well then, let's go. That's all I can say. Let's go. There's nothing to move.
Let's see. Breaking here, Matt Hardy's reaction to Sammy Guevara's AEW suspension after injuring Sammy Guevara. And I quote, "The whole thing about Sammy being suspended was all new to me until broken by Sean Ross Sapp. That was all new to me, but it is what it is, I guess." Now, the whole deal with Sammy Guevara, I believe, Sammy Guevara, who, let's see, this is Tammy, been a regular appearance, but unfortunately he had been involved in an incident resulting in injury to his opponent, Jeff Hardy. As a consequence, Guevara is facing suspension. As I understand it, during this contest, Jeff Hardy sustained an injury, and it seems that the proper concussion protocol was not followed. I don't know who was under the concussion protocol. I haven't figured out that, but Guevara was not supposed to do the moves that he did that it wound up injuring Jeff Hardy, and therefore has been suspended, which has now put Chris Jericho anchoring down Hook and just going to take away from Hook. So I don't need to see Hook teaming with Jericho to get the tag team titles. If he was teaming with Orange Cassidy, I might be able to understand. If he was teaming with somebody more relevant to who he is, maybe it would make sense. But Jericho is just like, oh, I'm so tired. Get Jericho off my TV, Tony Khan. There's nothing. If he goes away and revamps himself and it comes up with something different, comes back, maybe we can be okay to stomach him. But I'm over it. This man is on the main event in the front of the show, and I'm just done. He's not helping anybody get over. The Inner Circle was great, but then the Jericho Appreciation Society, it was entertaining, but then you failed to really, it just kind of collapsed all of a sudden, and nobody's been able to, everybody who came out of the JAS is pretty much floundered. Anna Jay's floundered away. Sammy Guevara, of course, he came back for a little bit. You're going to have late sex gods, but now he's suspended, so that's fumbled. You're trying to do this love angle with Cool Hand and Ruby Soho and making Saraya crazy, and the Wish version of Karrion Kross is there, and you're just kind of like going, okay. And Matt Menard's out here trying to find some place to fit in, trying to help Daniel Garcia. And yeah, you're just kind of like, yeah, it didn't help anything. And I'm just like, Jericho was great in the beginning, but the last few years of Jericho have just kind of been like, enough.
Well, the sad part is there was so much potential with the JAS, but they never capitalized on it.
No.
And even the fallout of JAS, again, they're not capitalizing on it. Allegedly, they're trying to make Daniel Garcia something, but the booking says otherwise, despite the hype about it.
The Dancing Queen.
There you go. I just seen right now, fans are already clamoring for Okada Omega 5 in AEW.
Well, I'm sure we're
gonna get healed first.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, can we get this man to get healthy if we want that?
I'm sure we'll see that.
Sure, and that's fine. But let them do what they do.
I'm sure we'll see that in time. But Omega's got so many stories out there right now because, is he going to come back and have issues with Jericho? Is he going to have issues with Don Callis and Will Ospreay and part of that family? The Golden Jets or the Golden Lovers, where's all that going to be left over? Does anybody know where Ibushi disappeared to? I thought that was a big get, and and then you're going to rush Omega and Okada, and I don't know. And then it's AEW booking. I don't know if it's going to be as big and as bad as it would be in Japan. Because Tony Khan takes these guys and doesn't do anything. I think Will Ospreay's about the only one that's been safe so far, but he has such fanfare. It's what's made him important. And so...
And then really started officially.
Yes. Well, he's coming in with a lot bigger fanfare and a feeling of prestigiousness and feeling like this is the Ospreay we should get. And we've gotten Okada in 2 scenes, and you're already kind of going, ugh.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be rushed on next week's TV. I don't know if Tony Khan can book Okada and Ospreay each and every week on TV without killing them. Because again, I will say it, Ospreay, the reason he's been so amazing and so great and has the fan base, because he travels all around and does a lot of indie shows, so people get to see him all over the place. But then on New Japan, he's not exposed every week. If he's on AEW on TV every week, doing the same thing, it'll just get boring. It'll just get repetitive, and it'll just be like, okay, cool, it's Ospreay, whatever.
Real cool question: where's our Triple Crown champ? Or where's he?
No, he's feuding with Okada. You've seen that on Dynamite. He came out to confront the Young Bucks for I don't know what reason, and Okada came out to look like he was going to side with Kingston and turned on Kingston, and then became the new face of the Elite. And then on Collision, Kingston came out to attack them with Penta, and then we got the return of the Bastard Pac. Yeah, there's where your Triple Crown champion is, and he's only coming out with the one title. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, they show him here at a Yankees game with all three of them. So I mean,
Triple Crown getting more over on a Yankees game than AEW TV.
Yes,
we don't say that team on this television private program.
That requires me to give a care about sports. Period.
Anyways, what do you have for us this week, Mr. Clarke?
Well, congratulations to Neil Dashwood and the former Riddick Moss, who apparently got married recently. Let's see here. People reports that Neil Dashwood and Mike Rallis, formerly known as Riddick Moss, in WWE got married yesterday in Hawaii. See, Dashwood on what they wanted out of the ceremony. There's no doubt it's going to be an epic wedding, but the most important thing is going to be so much fun. We want a celebration where our family and friends can enjoy themselves and have a great time. Rallis on what the wedding was like. Stunning scenery, delicious food, live music, and the best company we could ask for. We both thought it was important for us to express to each other exactly how we feel. I have to admit, though, that it's been much harder than what I thought it would be. It's not easy to put into words just how special this lady is to me. Dashwood on being committed. Marriage is the ultimate commitment. No matter what, we'll always be there for one another, pushing, supporting, and enriching each other's lives in every way we can. So again, congratulations to the happy couple.
Oh, is that
Go ahead.
I was going to say, is that the only couple you're going to give praise to?
That's the only one I know off the top of my head that got married.
Dominic Mysterio just got married to his longtime high school sweetheart.
I saw the headline, I just didn't read anything about it. Apparently, he got booed at his own wedding.
Apparently.
yeah.
I was like, how much heel heat do you have to get booed in real life at your own wedding?
I don't know if that's all.
His sister started that one.
Yeah, I feel it was all in fun games in that idea. So.
Well, you got to remember who was at those tables. You know, we've seen Rhea, we've seen Damien was there. So obviously, we knew where that heat was coming from for fun. That was great.
I haven't heard with Rhea being there. Buddy Matthews was there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that had to be an interesting combination. I guess it's a whole new four-way there. I mean, you know, Buddy Matthews, Rhea, Dom and his new wife, you know, and televised fashion, Dom and Rhea have their thing going. I mean, you know, hey.
I love what they said. People were saying, they were like, where's Ray? Where's Ray? What a deadbeat dad, blah, blah, blah. We all know he was there, but I do love the way it came off just to keep that story going.
Yes, they've hid Ray was there, but they've hid all that away. There was no pictures shown. They're not going to put that out there, but we know Ray was there. But yeah, they continue the storyline, definitely.
No, there actually was a picture leaked of him and his wife dancing, but I mean, you have to really dig for that.
With the mask on, or with the mask on, or with the mask off?
No mask.
Okay. Then it was a private. It was a private picture. Well, Rey Mysterio Rey Mysterio and the Luchador and that whole style, they go everywhere wearing the mask. I mean, they always wear the mask anytime they're going to be in public.
The picture I seen, the video I seen clearly, it was him and his wife dancing, but all you seen was the back of Ray's head. So whoever did it with respect.
They were probably hiding in public and very covered, but I mean, normally Ray would wear a mask. I mean, we've seen so many pictures where he's wearing a mask.
Oh, yeah.
In more recent years, especially because of social media, you'll see more unmasked Rey Mysterio photos. But it's more like when they're not talking about the story, when they're talking about, you know, either his past accomplishments or, you know, it's like it's done more respectfully and tactfully.
It is very funny that he came back to WWE wearing the mask and has played that role of never taking the mask off in public. And pictures we've seen, even when he's in regular clothes or he's out at Disney or wherever we've seen him, he's wearing the mask. And I'm always like, we all know. I mean, I guess for our generation, we all know he got unmasked at one time. We've all seen that baby boy face that he had when he got unmasked. And was part of the filthy animals.
Of course. And then, like I said, I've always, obviously we all have huge respect for the luchador and their ties to the mask and what it means to them. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've got a friend who's I'm friends with one of the wrestlers out here that is a luchador, and the only time you ever see him without his mask is when he's at work. But when he's at work, he always does his lucha pose with the sunglasses, and his face is still covered. So, I mean, there are guys out there that still live by that mask, and that's always a good thing.
No, always good stuff.
So apparently, Deonna Purrazzo weighed in on Steve Maclin's TNA contract coming up in May. On Maclin's contract being up. Let's see. I think it's nerve-wracking and it's also exciting. It's always good to know that you want it, that you're wanted, and that you've earned the right to ask for a little bit more, or you prove that you're worth a little bit more. I think that Steve Maclin you saw coming into Impact a few years ago versus the Steve Maclin that he is today is two completely different people. I think that his confidence has grown, and he is now finding the ability to stand up for himself and say, I deserve a little bit more, and not be walked on as much. Honor hopes for Maclin. Because in real life, he is so sweet and is a teddy bear, and it's kind of that sometimes he needs that nudge. Hey, stand up for yourself. Hey, is this really the best situation for you to be in? Think about it. I think he's taking that role really well. I'm really excited from a business standpoint because obviously that helps our family, right? But then also, just from a wife standpoint, I want to see you live your dreams too. I want to see you do whatever you think is best for you and is going to make you happy. So yeah, it's exciting. So after kind of reading this a little bit, one, Steve Maclin has improved so much compared to his WWE days. He's been used so much better in TNA. Not that WWE couldn't, but again, who was booking at the time? We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And just to see what he's done in TNA, whether he resigns eventually, or maybe there's a little bit of chirping in Tony Khan's ear bringing him to AEW since Deonna's there. I kind of wonder about that. If booked right, or booked just to capacity, he could, help AEW out just as a solid hand, let alone, whatever your thoughts are as far as being a main event player. How do you feel having seen just a little bit of what he's done over the last couple of years in TNA on how his work has been?
I think it's improved, but I mean, it is what it is. I don't watch enough TNA to really make a huge assumption. And of course, right now, I don't know where we take TNA, but I'll let Mr. Z say his piece before we get into TNA talks.
He'd definitely be a solid hand. I mean, there's been a lot of improvement, like you said, Paul. Look who was booking when he had his first stint. So, I mean, I'm always iffy when they go to AEW.
I understand.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a good get for AEW. I don't know what they're going to do with him there. He can be with his wifey, and that's fine. But I mean, how much longer is TNA going to be around? It's a big question. I mean, all these people coming up, they've announced that TNA fans had their signs taken from them at TNA Sacrifice that had anything to say with Scott D'Amore or We Want Scott. The TNA roster seems they're trying to make a positive face out of this, but a lot of them are still upset that Scott D'Amore is gone. Scott D'Amore offered $10 million to purchase TNA, and they refused it. And TNA is just taking the biggest. I mean, we talk about AEW taking a couple steps forward just to take 5 steps back. TNA took like 100 steps forward just to go 1,000 steps back. I mean, they just, I don't know with the Scott D'Amore. I know they've got people in place, but I don't know if it's going to hold up now. This has rocked the boat pretty heavy. So a lot of speculation that maybe TNA won't last, or it's just going to be but it's always been just kind of there. Like they don't want to take it to the next level.
I thought that's what the direction they were going for. And then, like, when we seen the Scott D'Amore thing, we're just like, what just happened? Y'all just really kicked it off. They came out guns blazing. We was ready for this. And there it goes.
Well, the reports were they were going back to TNA so they could do bigger venues, better shows, and they were going to spend money to hire bigger talents, bigger names. They were supposedly in the running to get Ospreay out, Okada. They tried to get Punk. They're trying to sign all these big names, and then all of a sudden we hear Scott D'Amore's been fired. Fired. Remember this. He was fired. He wasn't let go. He didn't resign. He was fired. Not just from being the president, but creative. He was gone.
In the company. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't even do that, and he offered them $10 million to buy it out. He had different plans. They have different plans, and now it seems like there's a bigger hole in the ship, and when the ship seemed like it was repaired and set on the right course.
Yeah.
Mr. Clarke, your 2 cents into all this.
I mean, I was devastated when I learned about the news about Scott D'Amore being fired. It's just, it blows my mind that in the same way that we poke fun at Tony Khan about not really wanting to grow his business, apparently Anthem Sports is doing the same bloody thing. They don't want to grow the business. They want to keep it as it is, maybe hopefully keep it maintained where it is, when there's so much potential to move it forward. And Scott D'Amore has shown with the rest of the team, with the talent and the production crew and everyone else, that they can move it forward if given the right resources.
Yeah.
So the fact that they said, nope, we have different creative plans, we have different business plans. We are Anthem, we are the owners, therefore, I mean, like, yes, it's within their right, but you're not doing right by your own product. I don't get it.
I don't know. And then, of course,
look what they just real quick. I mean, look who they had on the Royal Rumble. They had their women's champion or knockouts champion. The year prior, they had
Mickey James
Strap. Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They started a streaming deal under the Endeavor umbrella, the parent company there of TKO. So they're doing the streaming service, but I don't know where they're going. I don't know if this is all going to fold into WWE eventually, or Endeavor or TKO. I don't know. I don't know what happens to TNA at this point. But they seem to be floundering in the opposite direction the way they're pushing. And I know the talent's trying to really get raw behind this, but I just feel that this ship took a huge hit.
Because apparently you have talent like Tommy Dreamer and Gail Kim, who are kind of two of the creative members at this point since Scott D'Amore's
gone
firing. And I mean, for the Knockouts division, Gail Kim has been there for a while now and has been doing, I still think still does good work. I'm not sure how much Tommy Dreamer, I know he has influence, but I don't know how much, how much that influence is, good, bad, or otherwise. Then you have that wild speculation about Mr. McMahon.
A certain individual.
Yeah, somebody selling a bunch of stock that's possibly going to get booted out that may go buy another wrestling company to make his president. I mean, what would really stop him from buying a company, taking it private, and starting all over again? And he's got the money because he's sold off $400 million worth of stock. I mean, he's freaking a billionaire now. So, I mean.
I've heard the running joke of him. I heard the running joke of him possibly leaving the country because he sold all his stuff. But that's the running joke.
Maybe he'll go to Saudi Arabia. He loves it over there, living with a Saudi prince. I mean,
That was exactly a possibility.
I
know,
mean,
right?
He seems to have big things, so we'll have to see on that. Anyway, gentlemen, this has been a week. Lots of great stuff to talk about. We can't wait to see what's coming this week. Of course, tomorrow night, me and Mr. Clarke will be here to go over Raw. Speculations that Brock Lesnar may return at Raw, maybe not. We don't know for a fact. We just know he's back on the active roster. But we'll be here tomorrow night to cover everything that happened on Monday Night Raw, so we hope you'll be here for that. Of course, Wednesday we'll be here to cover Big Business, AEW Dynamite, breaking down everything that goes there. We know Okada's going to be wrestling. I don't know if we'll see Ospreay on the show. We know supposedly it's going to be the debut of Mercedes Moné. That's a big hint, so we'll see how that big debut goes. We know that Okada's got the 6-man tag team. We know Jericho and Hook are taking on the Gates of Agony. We know the world title's on the line. The Samoa Joe is going to take on Wardlow already. Why not save anything? But hey, you know what? Screw it. We'll put one match on the pay-per-view, and then we're going to build around it. Again, the big match is going to be Ospreay versus Danielson at Dynasty. That's the match they booked now. They booked that on Collision. And so that's what we're going to build around. So we probably won't get any more Dynasty matches until, let's see, that show happens April 21st. So probably April 15th. You might hear the next 10 matches that are going to go on that card. So, yes. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. We thank you for joining us.
Real quick, one more. Don't forget, Tuesday, you'll catch me, as always, with your breakdown of the New Japan Cup. Along with these guys right here.
All right.
You plugging you? What about me?
You didn't let me get there. I always plug everything. Takes me a minute. I'm just covering the big things because we're going to be here every week for Monday Night Raw. We're going to be here for everything for that. Well, this week, Raw is the next show that we have in Dynamite's Big Business. Those are Dynamite needs to be the biggest thing it's supposed to be. If Big Business doesn't live up to the hype, then it's a fail. Raw's tomorrow night. Of course, Tuesday, you always have the New Japan Pro Wrestling Rebound with Mr. Miguel Z, where he's going to talk about everything New Japan Pro Wrestling. You got to say, you got a little hint, you got a little flavor, you got a little taste, you got a little sample here today. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and you'll join him on Tuesdays when that goes live, where he'll talk about everything New Japan Pro Wrestling. Of course, then we'll be here with SmackDown to follow that up. Of course, no pay-per-views this week, and then we'll be back next week with the next installment of the Weekly Roundup right here on YouTube, where we break down everything going on in the week of professional wrestling, along with other things. So make sure you ring that bell for notification whenever we go live or any new content comes up in the air, because we're always adding new things, always letting you know what new content's going to be out there, and always keeping you updated. Make sure you give this video a like so we can get this out in the algorithm. Drop your comments below if you're watching this later. Please enjoy. And as always, if you will help us, the biggest supporting thing you can do is to join the Value Wrestling family. We're on our march, and we need each and every one of you to be a supporting member. Just hit that subscribe button and become part of the Value Wrestling family today. Gentlemen, is there anything you want to say in closing?
On the Monday.
It's like rest up for the rest of the day. Let's get Monday.
So we're going to get out of here. We're going to say goodbye. Fa la la. I'm going to talk to these gentlemen off air because we do have some stuff that's upcoming that we can't wait to break for you coming very, very soon. So make sure you're here because we have a big special surprise coming. I've talked about it a couple times. We just got to get the fine print. We got to get it written down in stone. And once that happens, ladies and gentlemen, believe that. It's going to be a fun time in the old town tonight. This is the Value of Wrestling. That's Mr. Clarke, and that is Mr. Miguel Z on the Big Time. This has been your Weekly Roundup podcast. We're going to get out of here. We're going to say fair adieu. Gentlemen, tell the audience goodbye and fair adieu.
Goodbye, audience. Fair adieu.
And there you have it.